Okay, great. Hi, everybody. We're just going to sit tight for just a moment while we wait for additional people to jump on. But welcome. It's nice to have you all with us this evening. Hopefully, everybody's having a good week. I'm on the line, and I'll introduce myself here in a minute with Nancy and Anita. Nancy, are we filling up?
Let's see. We have 9 people now. I'm keeping an eye on the waiting room, so
Okay.
why don't we wait another minute and then get started?
Okay, sounds good. Okay, I
Chris,
think we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. My name is Krista Dillabaugh, and I'm the director of the Morpho Institute. And we're very excited to welcome you all to our first webinar in 2025. We're really excited to get this webinar series back up and running. And as you know, tonight we're going to be talking about story mapping. And we'll be doing that with Dr. Nancy Troutman, who's on the Morpho Institute board, and Anita Palmer, who's a co-founder of GIS, etc. Before we jump into that, however, I wanted to give you a heads up. What's coming next in April is a really deep dive into geo-inquiry with GeoMan, Herb Thompson, who has a long history of working in geography. He's worked with Anita over the years. He was a classroom educator, has traveled the world, and just brings a really wonderful perspective to inquiry through the lens of geography. So that's coming up in April. I will be dropping the link to register for that in the chat in just a moment, but if you want to grab the QR code, you can do that, but you'll get the chat as well, and we'll also follow up with an email. Before we jump in, though, we have so many new people on the call tonight, which is delightful. We're happy to have so many people from outside of our internal network on board. I just wanted to take a minute to talk to you just briefly about who Morpho is. The Morpho Institute is a 501c3 nonprofit. We're based here in the United States, but our work is centered around the Peruvian Amazon. We work down there with a number of partners in the Amazon, and our goal is to harness the role of education for global change in the Amazon as well as back at home. The way we do that is through education and professional development for teachers and educators like you. We started the Morpho Institute in 2018, but it's built on a legacy of nearly 30 years of running professional development programs in the Amazon for K-12 educators from all different disciplines. So this mapping and geography that Nancy and Anita are going to be talking with you about tonight ties right into that. I did want to just mention that we do have 2 key programs that we run every summer, and we still have a few spots left. If anybody's really itching to go to the Amazon, we'd love to have you join us. The Educator Academy in the Amazon is our flagship program. That program was actually launched in 2013. And that is a broad-based inquiry program, foundational inquiry program, field studies, age-appropriate field studies, but it's also a nice blend of culture and community-based conservation. So all aspects of what makes the Amazon is what's covered in the Educator Academy. We launched in 2022 the Amazon Research Initiative for Educators, and that is a research-intensive program where educators are partnered up with field biologists and field geographers to do biodiversity monitoring research, long-term and short-term biodiversity monitoring. And then also we're launching with Anita and Nancy a geography team this summer to work with our Indigenous partners and community partners in the Amazon to talk about conservation in the context of road building in the Amazon. And the output of that will be data collection, and then the educators on that team will be working on some case studies. So if you're interested in that, please check out the website. And again, I'll drop that into the chat. We do have some scholarships available for the Amazon Research Initiative, and the deadline for applying for those is March 1st. So you'll need to get those in quickly if you want to apply for funding for that. So here we go. I'm going to turn this over to Anita and Nancy, and so they can get started with story mapping with all of you tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to you and stop sharing, Anita and Nancy, and have fun, everybody.
Thank you.
So thank you, Krista. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nancy Troutman. I'm retired from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and I've been on the board of Morpho and a faculty member for Morpho for a number of years now. And I'm really delighted to be collaborating with Anita Palmer, whose career is focused on helping teachers use mapping and story mapping and GIS in their classroom. So we're really thrilled to have her as a Morpho faculty member with us now too, and we'll be together in the Amazon this summer. So it's really exciting. So let me give you a quick overview of what we're going to do tonight. Anita's going to start with just a quick summary of what is story mapping and how it can be useful in teaching. And then we're going to hear from a couple of our alumni teachers who've been with us to the Amazon and then come back and are using it in their classroom. So Julie and Carly, it's good to see you here. And if I'm missing anybody else who would like to chip in and say something, that's fine. Jordan, I know you've done some work with this as well. And then we're going to go back to Anita, and she's going to give us some advice that she's been putting together about how to get things started easily. She's got some handouts and she's got a lot of experience on troubleshooting. So we're going to go back to Anita for that, and then have a chance for discussion and questions at the end. So with that, oh, and I just wanted to say we are recording this tonight. We had a lot of people who signed up who couldn't actually come tonight, so we'll have the recording for them, but it's also, you should feel free to share it with your colleagues. Everything that we're presenting tonight is available to everybody, whether or not they've been involved with Morpho. So please feel free, once we send out the recording and the resources that go with it, to share those with any colleagues you think might be interested. So Anita, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you very much. I'm Anita Palmer, and I was a past classroom teacher. My jam is social studies and tech ed. And but I started integrating geographic information systems. But let me just say this. I had dental surgery today, so if I have not been drinking. So if I slur my speech a little bit, it's because I actually, the lip is numb. That's all. So anyway, with that being said, I started integrating GIS into my classroom in about 94. And I absolutely, the kids loved it, and it just didn't stop after that. So right now I'm also a National Geographic Fellow, and I work with a couple other projects called one called 2892 Miles to Go. And then of course, love the work that we do with Morpho Institute. I will introduce my husband, Roger Palmer. He is also a teacher in the science side. He's not really going to present tonight, but he's going to pick me up if I fall over. And so anyway, so let's talk about story mapping very quickly. Nancy's going to share her screen. And I want to show you a really good place to start out with for Morpho. And it is, the link is morphoinstitute.maps.arcgis.com. You can do a little screen capture of that, or that
I'm going to drop it in the chat, Anita.
Thank you so much, Krista. I appreciate that. And so at that one, you're going to see this one is the Morpho page on the Morpho website that we're looking at. The Morpho Institute .map, yeah, that one. If you scroll down on there, that is our home page for ArcGIS Online. And you're going to see in this green section at the top, there's some resources, and I'll go through those momentarily, but go ahead and continue to scroll. Nancy. We've got some Morpho maps and story maps. So if you click on those at a future time, you will be able to see some other resources that have been created and learn a little bit more about the Amazon. Then we have another thing that another tool that is amazing, but we're not covering tonight necessarily, are called Survey 123s. So they're surveys, and you can create those simply for use in your classroom or down in Costa Rica. Sorry, that's where I am, and that's why I'm also dressed in a very different fashion than you all are at the moment. But in the Amazon, we create surveys and they are automatically populate maps. So anyway, here's some examples of that you also can look at. Go ahead and keep scrolling, Nancy. And here are a couple of student and teacher created story maps. And then some other story maps about the rainforest, and there's the Morpho link, etc. So go ahead and scroll back to the top. And we're going to just iterate, and I'm going to just start us right now, and then I'm going to give it back to Nancy. We'll do the first link, Digital Storytelling with ArcGIS Story Maps. This is a resource Nancy created, and it is very, very handy. And so what is story mapping? I'm just going to tell you very briefly that it is a way to use multiple modalities, maps, images, links, video, recordings, anything you can kind of embed codes. All of that can be aggregated in a story map, and they're very artistic, they're very creative, and they're very simple to create. The students, all you do is you give them the link to the story map, show them a couple of things, and off they go, and they really love it. So story maps are just a really wonderful visual way to show about place. And they honestly, you don't need a map, but it's wonderful to be able to use maps in there. And so that's what a story map is simply, and you're going to see some story maps. So rest assured. And then as I showed you, we have on the website, the Morpho ArcGIS site, we have some story maps for you to go through and to take a look at. Now, as we scroll down this document, you'll see that there are some very simple resources, excuse me, to come in. So we have overview and example stories. So there's a link, you can get to that. Getting started with ArcGIS story maps, crowdsourcing, etc. So there's those links if you would like to kind of really jump in and dig in. I also have some other options that I'm going to show you as well. And then we'll talk in my second little portion, we're going to talk about this license as well. But this document is a wonderful document. It's the first link on this page, and you don't have to be, signed into Morpho yet. So all of this is public facing. So that is, I think, what I'm going to, I think that's what I'm going to say for right now. And I'm going to do some backfill after Julie and Carly. I want to give them enough time, Nancy, to, so that they can really present their materials and not to feel nervous like you got to hurry. So,
Okay.
And Carly?
Wonderful. Thank you, Anita. I'm going to stop sharing. And then I'm going to put links in the chat to the websites that we were just talking about there. So don't worry if you're wondering where those are. And then we have a couple teachers who are prepared to talk tonight. Julie teaches at the high school level and Carly at the elementary school level. I don't know which of you would like to go first.
Doesn't matter. I can go.
Okay. Would you like to share screen, or I'm happy to share something for you, or you have the power, I think, to share from your screen if you have something you want to show.
Yeah, I can do that. I have a couple of my student examples up, so I can share my screen really fast. I
Great.
haven't shared a screen on Zoom since I taught virtually in 2020. So
It's bringing back fond memories, right,
yeah.
Julie?
Okay, there we go. Okay, I think everybody should be able to see it now.
Yeah, that's
hi
good.
everyone. My name is Julie. Like Nancy said, I'm a high school educator here in Virginia. I teach high school biology and dual enrollment biology to 10th through 12th graders. I was at the Educator Academy in the Amazon this summer, and Nancy gave her little spiel about StoryMaps, and my mind just started racing with all these ideas and things that I wanted to try it out with. So I was able to do one big project with my 10th grade students this year using StoryMaps, and I think it went off pretty much without a hitch. There's a little, there's always a little bit of technological things with students as you're using something for the first time, but once they really got in there and started playing with it, they found it really easy to use. And I love that I didn't have to look at 100 PowerPoint presentations with white slide and black text on them. So the project I had them do is actually about climate change. So during our ecology unit, we have to talk about climate change and human impact on the environment. So I had them researching how climate change is affecting our local area, our region, our state, and then the whole planet or the whole country, whichever they could choose. So I have a couple different student examples to show you. I thought this one was particularly good. Just a really cool layout to show you how they can use the maps. So this student highlighted, this is like a custom border that she made, highlighting different regions, and there's like points all over the map that she kind of like highlighted different areas. So this is close to where we are, this little spot down here. And then they have all their information. So it's still very informative. They're able to put all the information they would put into like a slideshow. But it's just a lot more engaging for me to grade. And I allowed them to present it if they wanted to, which was really fun. So this was a really fun project. And then this student decided to present on deforestation in his neighborhood, actually. So he actually drew a border around where he lives and investigated, like, why do we see deforestation in this area? What could they be using it for? Why are the trees cut down? Things like that. Oop, sometimes you get an error if you're not signed in. So yeah, there's just some really cool examples. And they're able to really do as much or as little as they want. This student put in some videos of information. And I like that there's a lot of different layouts that StoryMap provides for you as like a template, but then they can really customize it to whatever they're interested in, which is great. And then I also, just really quickly, I gave a talk at the National Science Teaching Association conference back in November, I think it was. And I had a quick little like survey 1, 2, 3. I know Anita said we wouldn't really get into that tonight, but I just created a quick
Go for
little, yeah, a quick little like 3-question survey, just asking teachers like, what do they teach, where are they from, and then asking them to put themselves on the map. And I got this really cool little visual with where everybody's located and then their information, so I could contact them later if they wanted more information. So I love StoryMaps because I think just the project possibilities for all grade levels and all types of students and projects to really bring in that idea of like place-based learning and that geography aspect, even if you don't teach like a social studies course, is really cool. Then also for like personal professional things, I just think it's a really cool tool to use. So I used GIS a lot when I was working on my master's and found it annoying. And now here with StoryMaps, I'm like, oh, why couldn't I just have used this the whole time?
It didn't exist back then.
Yeah, yes. So I wish it did. That would have been great. But I'm happy to answer any questions if you guys have specific questions, but I can also just turn it over to Carly. Thanks.
So Julie, I am wondering, did you train your students in how to do story mapping? Did they have any experience ahead of time?
They really didn't. I pretty much just had a slideshow with like instructions for the project. And I was like, here's your project, go do it. And they, at first there was some grumbling. Everybody had to like make an account and I had to help them with that. And there's a little bit of like, why can't I just do a slideshow? I'm like, because this is way cooler than a slideshow. But as soon as they got in it and they were just clicking buttons and playing around, adding things, moving things around. So I some of my I teach the entire 10th grade at my school. So I have a very diverse group of learners, some that are very high achieving, some that have learning disabilities and need a little bit more support. And I felt it was really accessible for all of my students to use. Some of them needed a little bit more help, just like getting started, but I mean, they were pretty self-sufficient with it.
That's good to hear. I remember at the time, one of the things you said is it took you a long time to get everybody signed up for ArcGIS.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that Anita is going to help us with a little later in this hour, is she's got a quick and easy way to do that. So we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
So great. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
So Carly, can we turn it over to you?
Absolutely. All right, I am clicking share screen. Can I get a thumbs up if that worked?
Yep, that worked.
All right, so I'm going to show a couple of story maps. Just full disclosure, I was on leave last year, so these story maps are all a year old, but I have an idea for one that I'm currently working on, and I'll talk about that one as well. So the first one was not my idea. This idea came from a group of Morpho teachers. It was about doing a story map as a bear hunt, looking for tardigrades and other microorganisms. So this map is really, really small. Those points are all on our school's nature trail. So the kids took moss samples, and then we just went back to our classroom and looked under a microscope, and were able to see what we were able to find in different locations throughout our school's nature trail. And what I like about it is if you have really short videos, it turns into like a GIF, or however you pronounce that. So just repeating over and over again, which makes it really engaging for other people, like community members or parents who want to look at their kids' story map. This was 3rd grade. It's just like a fun way to take something that would have just stayed in our classroom, we wouldn't have shared out, and make it so it's something that other people can see. And not just in our school, it's public so that other schools can see it as well. So that's the first example. And
before you go on, that just looks really impressive for 3rd graders. And can you say a little bit about the process of how you pulled that together?
Do not have like one-to-one technology or anything like that at our school. So this was all on our smartboard. So literally the microscope in our classroom, we only have one, is hooked up to our smartboard computer. And so as we were going through it, we were just putting it on the map. So for this example, the kids did not have individual accounts. I've done maps with like my 8th graders when they've gone on different like excursions and trips where we use survey 1, 2, 3, and their accounts are feeding into the same map. But this one was like a, kids sitting on the carpet, making it together type map.
Got it. Thank you.
I don't think it looks that impressive, though. It's only a few dots.
I wanted to find out, I did want to just ask you on those 3rd graders, what were their responses? Were they understanding what was happening?
As far as story mapping, yes, because we've used story maps before.
Okay.
But I mean, I think the understanding is sort of not easy, but natural, because like they know that's the school building. They know that these are places, and for this map, we didn't even use GPS coordinates. We were literally like, okay, where on the nature trail were we? Let's drop a pin. So it was pretty intuitive. I think that if we had a physical map and we're putting dots on it, it would have been just as easy as doing it this way. I apologize if you can hear my daughter in the background. She's with my husband in the other room right now. So it's a little bit noisy here. It was a snow day, so we were all home today, which was really nice. All right, so this is another one that was done with younger elementary kids. I teach kindergarten through 8th grade. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but this one was all about air pollution. So also a really simple map to do. We took squares of paper and we covered it with petroleum jelly, and we hung them in different parts around our school building. So you can see the locations on the map, just to see how much like particles in the air it would catch over a week of time. And this is very unscientific, but if you look at it, the ones that seem to be dirtier are the ones that are either in the circle where our buses idle in the morning and the afternoon, or on the circle that's by the large interstate going by our school. So although that's something that as an adult, we would probably not need to map to know, since this was their first exposure to that concept, like this was really inquiry for them. Like they did not know what was about to happen. They were really excited to find out. And then they were excited to take that information and sort of speculate why that might be. The one that we're currently working on that we don't have yet is I've been in contact with our Green Energy Commission for our town. And they actually just a few days ago got me data from the town assessor's office. So we're going to have all the GPS coordinates for all of the solar panels in our town. Our town is really small, so it's only like 60 locations. And I am looking into a way that instead of these using those locations to sort of see the tree cover in our area. Now, where I would like the map to go is our school just got a brand new roof. And our roof is finally strong enough to have solar panels. So I know that our Board of Education is actually considering that, although our students don't know that they're considering that yet. So I'm hoping that if we are able to look at data from where solar panels are in our town, we can sort of see that our school has a large open area. Ashford, Connecticut is almost all forest. It's almost all protected forest space. So they're looking at a map. It's basically going to be all trees, except for where our school is. We don't have like businesses or buildings, like large buildings in our town. So I'm hoping that that will sort of generate an inquiry question for the kids about where could we put solar panels. And maybe one of the ways that we'll do that is by presenting it to the board and suggesting maybe we put solar panels on our school. So that idea is in very much the infant stage right now. It's just in like the data collection and collaborating type stage. But I'm excited to see where it might end up. And
Oh, wow.
was planning to share.
That's impressive. Thank you, Carly. Let's just open it up for questions or comments. Anybody want to ask either Julie or Carly any questions about working with their students, what it takes, why do it, how to get started? Carly, did you have any unexpected challenges along the way? Or have you been doing this long enough now that you pretty much know what you're up against?
No, I think the first story map I made with students was probably about 10 years ago. I might not have even been a story map. It was just like a survey 1, 2, 3 going into a map. And the entire platform was different back then. The story map didn't have like the tour option. So I would say that most of the roadblocks I had were just headaches about the technology. And it seems like ArcGIS has done such a great job in the last few years of making this more user-friendly that I have not had as many issues as I used to have. And if somebody's on this call who used StoryMaps like 5 years ago and was like, never again, I would highly recommend that you try again, because I don't know what they did, but things are much easier now.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And I totally agree. Things keep getting more sophisticated in what you can do, but also easier in how to do it. But that's good to hear from your perspective as well. So there are a couple of things in the chat here.
Yeah.
Karen is asking about data. How do you find maps and photos to input into StoryMaps? Do students need to collect data, create spreadsheets, etc.? Or is it easy to insert pre-made maps? Thank you for sharing your cool examples. So why don't both of you chime in on that one?
Yeah, I can definitely kick us off with that. I feel like my students did not, short answer, my students did not like create data or spreadsheets or anything like that. We use, so StoryMaps has the maps like embedded in it, and we just use like the mapping tools that come with it. Some of them kind of took off and did their own thing and found, you know, outside pictures or, you know, I did say one of the requirements for my students trying to differentiate a little bit was they had to have some piece of like data evidence, numbers of some kind was my parameter, you know, so some sort of data, whether that was related to the map or just related to like climate change in general. And you can display that in really different ways. So when you're adding things in, it's very much like module based, where you just add in a piece and you can edit the piece. You can make it a picture, you can make it a spreadsheet or like chunks of data. But my students didn't really do that. But I think it's available, and it's a great tool to use if you wanted to make that like a higher level thing or use it for yourself personally.
And Julie, your students drew boundaries. Did they just
Mhm.
figure out how to do that on their own?
Yeah, they there's like tools. So when you put in like a base map on the story map, you can open it in like an ArcGIS tab, and you basically are using ArcGIS, not even story maps, just like regular arc maps, and editing the arc map, and then you're putting that into the story map. So yeah, they just kind of played around with the different tools, figured out how to do lines. They were showing me how to do stuff after a couple days. So
Of course.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Carly, do you want to jump in too?
Yeah, so as far as using other maps in a story map, piggybacking off of what Julie said, you can like make an arc map and use that. But I did recently learn, so I was about to present to a social studies class. I don't teach social studies. And I was like, I'm gonna make this super easy for myself. I'm going to go into the Morpho area, and I'm going to copy one of their story maps and just change like the pictures and the text and whatnot, so that I don't have to figure out where all the coordinates are. And I did learn that you cannot do that with a free teacher account. So I did run into that roadblock. So back to Nancy and roadblocks. But I did figure out that if you don't have, like, if you actually have like a professional account, that's something you could do. And that seems like it would make, it's so easy to make a really like fast and impactful presentation if you were presenting about the Amazon in like an area where you don't, normally teach.
So does anyone else have questions for Julie and Carly or comments before we move on? If not, Anita, why don't we turn it back to you, and you can talk a little bit about those things that you've been working on to make it easier for people, and then we can have discussion and questions again after that or during it.
Perfect. Nancy, go ahead and share your screen. I also, I have another, I'll share my screen afterwards, but I think I should address the concern about the lift of how do I get my students into an account and how much is it going to cost? So, if you want to go back, yeah. So,
this is our ArcGIS site, and the link is in the chat.
Yeah.
It's morphoinstitute.maps. Yeah.
Okay,
Go
good.
ahead.
And stay up there, Nancy. That was good. Thanks for kicking it off like that. So this is what an ArcGIS online account looks like. We just happen to make a homepage that's freely available on every account. Now, there's two things that I would suggest, two avenues, let's put it that way, that I would suggest for you as classroom teachers, if each one of you is a classroom teacher, because it's very powerful to have your students, as Julie and Carly both just illustrated. It's so powerful to have the students to be able to do this. Is it a requirement? No, you could have a story, an account, and you could just create story maps. And that would be fine as well, depending on your situation. But as we're looking at this, what I am suggesting is there are free classroom accounts that schools can have for free. And you basically go to esri.com/schools. And you can apply for your school to have an account, and they're free. And it has all of the tools and the power that Carly was just saying she wanted to do something and she couldn't because she had a private account. Honestly, I would do one of two accounts, and one of them is apply for your school. If that is too big of a lift and you've got some internal district-wide, I mean, I know that privacy is an issue, et cetera, and some districts, occasionally, it's just too big of a deal. So what we have now, what you're looking at, is an account specifically for schools. Morpho has 2 different organization accounts. And actually the one I think we're looking at is our broader, is Morpho's broader account for the work that it does. We also have, or Morpho also has, a teacher-student account. And you can have a login for each one of your students in that school's account. We'll get you those different links. If that, depending, you'll want to just reach out to Nancy and say, hey, I want to start out with perhaps using the Morpho Schools account because the lift at my district's just not going to work out. If it is, and you don't want to have 2 different sets of logins, and you want to just go directly to getting your school's account, we can help you to do that as well. And that is directly through Esri. Both of these are free.
So Anita, let me just interrupt for a minute and
Yes.
say that the account that we have with Esri allows us to do that only for our alumni teachers or participants. So we can't offer that licensing for.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that. So go ahead and think in terms of applying for your a school account. And honestly, it will save you time, and it's really quite straightforward. I mean, I think you have to fill in for, you just have to prove you're a school, and to do that, typically it's like a link or something to that effect. But you basically just prove you're a K-12 school, and Esri will comply. And then what I'm going to show you next is the easy way to get your kids, your students, into these accounts. So Nancy, if you go ahead and scroll down, I've created a couple of we'll talk about signups first. So let's go to the ArcGIS student signup instructions. And I've created something that hopefully is very straightforward. So once you are approved for your account with Esri, and it usually takes them about a week, doesn't take them long. And you'll get that, you'll get that link via email after you apply and they approve it. You can then go in and you are the administrator. You will make yourself the administrator to that account. And this document that I created is the way. And it just starts right at the top. You'll click on organization at the top, and then you click on members. Then you go down and you say invite members. So I gave you little screenshots. If you keep scrolling down, when you'll get to, I tell you which way to do this. And honestly, you could add the students one at a time, but seems really counterintuitive to me. Of just creating a spreadsheet. All I'm going to tell you here is so that you can preserve the identity of your students, even though, okay, let me just go back 1 second. Even though ArcGIS Online will allow you to totally create documents in total privacy, nobody can see them but yourself, no matter what. You can do what's called, I can share it to the organization. So that means that you can have classroom work that can happen, and the students could see each other if their documents are shared within the organization. Nobody out in the world can see them. So we have private, we have organization, and then we have public. And that might be when you get to the point where the students have quite a bit of acumen, they've maybe done a joint project and created a story map, and they want to present it and share that. You could share that to everyone. If you look at the spreadsheet that I created, this spreadsheet is, well, it's right there on that sheet, but I'll show you the other part of this in a moment. Basically on your spreadsheet, I made these names up. You have first name, last name, email, username. Everybody, all the students give them a publisher role, and their user type is creator, and you can put some password in there. They're going to all get an email that'll be automated, and they'll get the option to change their password. So what I have done is I want you to take a look at username. This is just a schema that I've come up with because I work with a ton of schools in one particular account for the 2892 Miles to Go project. So I came up with this deal of username Jones HS for high school. I put an underscore, and then I used the student's first name and last initial. So it's a pretty innocuous. You maybe don't even have to give their whole first name. It could be their, 3 initials if you would like. But anyway, this is what the spreadsheet looks like. And the only thing that I have to tell you is that your field headers have to be exactly like these. Now, I've made it a little simpler. As you continue to go down, once you get your spreadsheet, you drag and drop it onto the form, and then it's automatic, and you'll see they become members. They've got licenses that they have now been given, and you click add, and they're all done at once. It could be 30 students, it could be 100 students, and it could be 2 students. All right. So Nancy, now go out of this sheet. So this sheet is there, and this is open to you, and then go down to the template. So I have provided the template for you.
Oops.
You can
Hang on.
Is it not working? Sorry.
I think it's a, let me find it.
Oh, you have to download it. That's right. What it does is it uploaded it to Nancy's computer so she could open it in Excel. And it looks exactly like what I just showed you on the sheet of on that document that I created for you. So I don't think we need to worry about it, but basically
So this is it. I just downloaded the file and opened it.
You'll have to share to that one now.
Oh, am I sharing? Oh,
yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, probably unshare and share again. But the key is, while Nancy's doing that, the key is perfect, that you want to save this as a CSV. Then you just drag and drop that CSV right into setting up your the setup procedure, which I've documented, with the screen captures, and you're good to go. And as I said, you could have 50, 3, 100 students, and it'll do it just like that. And I'm sure you have many of your students. I'm sure you have your students on. You've got many spreadsheets with your student names, etc. And then all you need to come up with is you create their username. That's all. Don't give them any choices. The only choice they're going to have is their password. So anyway, so yeah, so that is the materials. Those are the materials that I've created for you. And then so once your students are in an account, and I'm sorry, Nancy, you're going to have to go back and share one more thing here. And
all right.
And then I'll be done, I promise. And then we'll leave time for questions. I want to give you a good it's kind of a fun. The content's not fun, but the story map process is fun. So if you go to the second link, create an example story map. So when I was doing work at Nat Geo, they had me doing some teacher trainings And so I created this document. You could give this to your student. It's a copy and paste activity, but it takes them through starting and creating a story map from scratch. So you can click on, that link. You can go take a look at StoryMaps. But here's where, when you go in and you click on starting a story map, the template comes up and it'll say, title your story. And I said, okay, type in planet or plastic. The notion here is this will take the kids about 10 minutes to do, maybe 15. By the time they're done, they're going to have a story map created, and they're going to learn some content at the same time. And and now we don't have to have them fussing with, well, I don't know what to put in here. They're by the time they're done, they know what to do, and they haven't, but yet you've provided some fun content. So as we go down, I give you an introduction. My trip to the Amazon got me thinking about plastic. And then it shows them how to go in, adding in a cover image. And then just by clicking, I tell you, I get kind of excited about screenshots sometimes. And but it just shows you how to click on through. And then you can put a quote in. By 2050, virtually every seabird species on the planet will be eating plastic. That's a National Geographic quote. So now they know how to put a quote in. If you scroll down again, we have headings, and they can put facts about plastic pollution. They can do numbered lists, and I give them items to put in their numbered list. And all of a sudden, what's unfolding is this kind of cool looking story map, but it's got this great content in it. So go ahead and just do a quick scroll down, Nancy, so they can kind of see. So I've given you all kinds of great, I've given you Garbage Patch, and the links will take you, those links can act as embed codes. They bring those in, and they'll be having a live web resources on their story map. So if you keep going, and then I have all of this material as far as where you can get free open source videos, of course, making sure that the kids understand that they always cite their sources, right? So we always end up with that. So anyway, I did create this, and it's actually kind of a fun little, and it gets your kids going if you're feeling like this content might fit. And then they know how to do story maps, and then they're rocking and rolling. I think that's what I got.
So I'm going to stop the screen share, and then let's open it up for comments, discussion. Julie, do you think that would have helped you to sign your students up more easily next time?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
sorry,
it works. I tested it 2 or 3 times, or 2 or 3. I've tested it 25 times probably, but it works. And thank you, Julie, for making me imprint. So
Anita, do
Jordan,
each?
yeah,
sorry.
Jordan, I'm wondering, do you want to say a few words about, I know you were looking at Julie's work and making it into a lesson plan. Do you want to say something
Julie's
about
the expert on this. But I had a question about the signups. Like, do they all need to be like school domains or something like that for the emails to be accepted?
No. Well, hold on just a sec. I was interpreting what you were saying, the students' emails as you were signing the students up, but it occurs to me you're talking about the school at large, right? As far as being approved.
Yeah.
Yeah. You will need a school domain for that account. Or are you with like a nonprofit or something to that effect with student?
No, I'm New York City Department of Education.
Oh, oh, are you kidding? They would be approving you in a hot second, because they do district-wide and West Virginia has statewide license. There's 2 or 3 states now that have statewide licenses. If it's for education, you are in, you're fine. I can connect you with Tom Baker. And he can really slim down. He's the one that knows all of the mechanics and all of the student privacy and FERPA considerations.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be good, because we've been blocked by vendors who we've paid, but the city itself blocks us from using the vendors they paid, and it would be great to have another resource.
Yeah, Tom Baker would be, he knows how to get around this stuff. And by get around, I mean, he understands the ins and outs. That's what I meant to say. He's not going around a back door. That's not what I meant. So, absolutely, Jordan, I'm going to write your name down, and I'll pop a tbaker@esri.com, by the way. Any of you can write him directly if that's an easier thing for you to do, and he would not mind. tbaker@esri.com. And I'll stick it in here too. And I'll let him know he may get several emails. Okay. Good question.
And I would just say, over the years that we've been doing this, every wrinkle that's come up, Anita, and sometimes with Roger's help, have found answers to, and have inside connections inside Esri, and people, there want to make things work for teachers. So sometimes it takes a few questions and a little bit of time, but Anita sticks to it. So thank you, Anita, for all your problem solving.
Well, it's our pleasure.
So Jordan, I know you created a lesson plan around what Julie was doing. Do you want to say a few words about that? Because we could post that also. I don't know if anybody else has looked at it, commented on it yet.
Well, we were gonna, I guess, bring it to the curriculum committee thing on March 4th, but
okay.
Maybe we can. I don't know if we want to post it here now or wait until after that.
No, we can wait. But do you want to say a few words about what you did and how you
Yeah,
got
I mean,
inspired?
Julie had a really great, approach to this. She asked students to think of like an environmental issue that was pertinent to them. She gave them a lot of resources to read about beforehand. So it really was like student-directed learning. The lesson plan that I kind of put together from Julie's work includes resources that she generated, as well as some other resources that I've put together over the years. So it's going to be a 5E lesson plan that has, Julie's handouts and some handouts of my own. I'm hard pressed to remember all the details of it right now, but
yeah. Okay. Well, I put you on
modifiable.
The spot, so. Yeah, so we'll wait, but we can post that once it's been, once you're ready, been vetted by Julie and other teachers. So the point was just that you were wrapping the 5Es around using story mapping as the presentation. Was that like Julie presented? Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
For students to do their analysis and presentation.
Is it okay? I have a technical question on something that I think I heard Cynthia say before, or sorry, not Cynthia, Carly. Sorry, I don't know where I got that. But she mentioned that like you could have one map that many accounts are feeding into. And I was wondering if that's something that's like outside the purview of today, or something that could be talked about a little bit, of how you generate a story map so that like the whole class could be throwing data points into something.
I guess I
So
should.
one. Oh yeah, go ahead, Carly.
I should have specified that it was through survey 123, and it was all going to like an ARC map first. And that ARC map was the like base map of our story map. So there may be an easier way, but that was like the 3-part way we were doing it.
So we haven't really covered survey 123 here, but a quick overview is it's a survey that you can easily write, that people can take out in the field in a handheld, and you can enter data right there in the field and have it plunked on a map, and more than one person can be adding data to the same map. And they're used professionally, like for example, for highway people to enter where there are potholes that need work and that kind of thing. But students can also use it to enter data about trees in their community, or also or all kinds of different things like that. And we have some examples of those surveys with associated maps on our ArcGIS page, so you can take a look at those. There's one where we ask people just put yourself on the map, and that's something Julie said she did at the NSTA conference. Just right there during the conference, had people use the survey that she provided and put themselves on the map. So that's a way of having more than one person putting data into the same map. Does that answer that question?
And Julie has she had a great comment. It said, yeah, Survey 123 is like the Esri version of Google Forms, and that's it's super accessible. That is exactly right. Easy to use.
So does anybody else have questions or comments? We're just about at the end of our hour, and we do want to respect your time. I really appreciate teachers coming out on evening in the middle of a week, and Anita coming out on the day you had surgery. So thank you all.
I'll add to Jordan's question. If students build their own maps at the high school level, I used to have students work on their own maps, something small. And then if one or two students wanted to make, in the format you saw of Anita sharing, you can add in, if they're sharing their maps, you can actually make one map where all of them, you could add in each of the maps of the students. And so that's another good way where you have one story map where it's just adding in the students' work, especially if you want to have them present that day, then they'll all be in one story map, but you don't have to duck in and out of others. And that's been a nice way to create community. And usually I get a small team that either finishes early or gets lost and doesn't remember what they want to do. So I make them make the team map or something. So anyway, that's
nice. Thanks, Raj.
That's a good idea. Do you have an example of that you could point us to? Or not necessarily right now, we could even send it out afterwards.
Yeah, I could send one out of ones where we did some work in Dallas, where the students just took on projects in the community they thought they could make a change or difference on. One was food island, food deserts.
Right.
Other was transportation. I think it's still in that account. It's been a few years since I've taught at that school in Dallas, but I should be able to find that pretty quickly.
Great. Thank you. Well, I think we should wind this up. I will send an email to everybody with the recording once we have that ready, and also the links to the ArcGIS site that has the links to the downloads that Anita talked about. And you'll have my email, so feel free to reach out if you have questions. And we'll just keep this conversation going. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Good night.
I think we're it.
All right.
Yeah,
Just
you
the
did
four of
it.
us.
We did.
I just jumped back in just to make sure you were all okay. Anita,